The silence was deafening. Simon Cowell's pen dropped onto the judge's table with a sharp click that echoed through the Dolby Theater. 19-year-old Emma Chen stood frozen at center stage, her prepared song forgotten, her sheet music scattered at her feet. But what happened next would prove that perfection isn't about flawless execution, it's about fearless authenticity. And Simon Cowell was about to learn the most important lesson of his judging career. It started like any other Tuesday night taping of America's Got Talent. The energy was electric. Contestants nervously paced backstage, and Simon adjusted his signature black t-shirt, ready for another evening of dreams and disappointments. But contestant number 1247 was different. Emma Chen carried something onto that stage that couldn't be rehearsed, couldn't be coached, and couldn't be contained. Pure, unfiltered hope. Emma had Down syndrome, but that wasn't her defining feature. Her defining feature was her smile, the kind that lit up entire rooms and made strangers feel like old friends. She'd been practicing for this moment for 3 years, ever since her mother, Susan, had submitted her audition tape during a moment of pure maternal faith. "My daughter has something to say to the world," Susan had written in her application. "She just needs a stage big enough for her voice." During rehearsals earlier that day, Emma had been nervous but confident. She knew every word of her chosen song, "What a Wonderful World" by Louis Armstrong. It was her favorite. The song she hummed while doing chores, the melody that calmed her during doctor visits, the tune that had carried her through 19 years of people telling her what she couldn't do. But standing under those blinding stage lights, with 4 judges staring at her and 3,000 audience members waiting, something happened that no amount of preparation could have prevented. Emma forgot everything. The music began, that familiar, gentle opening of "What a Wonderful World." Emma opened her mouth to sing, and nothing came out. Not silence from nerves, complete mental blankness. The song she'd known by heart for years had vanished from her memory. The judges shifted uncomfortably. Sophia leaned forward with concern. Howie's usual smile faded. Heidi looked sympathetic but uncertain. And Simon watched with the sharp attention of someone who'd seen hundreds of performances crash and burn. "It's okay, honey," Sophia called out gently. "Take your time." Emma looked down at her sheet music, scattered on the floor from when her shaking hands had dropped them. She bent down to gather the papers, but they were out of order, upside down, meaningless. Panic crept into her features. This was the moment most contestants would apologize and leave. The moment dreams typically died. Instead, Emma did something extraordinary. She stopped trying to be perfect and started being herself. "I'm sorry," she said into the microphone, her voice carrying that distinctive cadence of someone with Down syndrome. "I practiced this song a million times, but I can't remember the words right now." The audience murmured sympathetically. A few awe sounds rippled through the crowd. This looked like it was heading toward one of those heartbreaking moments that AGT was known for. Well-meaning, but ultimately unsuccessful auditions that ended in gentle rejections. But Emma wasn't finished. "The thing is," she continued, looking directly at Simon with eyes that held no pretense, no performance, just honest communication, "I don't think I need to sing that song anyway, because I have something different to tell you." Simon's eyebrow raised slightly. In 20 years of judging, he'd developed a sixth sense for when something real was about to happen. This felt real. "What would you like to tell us, Emma?" he asked, his voice gentler than his usual sharp tone. Emma smiled, that radiant, uncomplicated smile that seemed to make the stage lights brighter. "I want to tell you about dreams, Mr. Simon, because everyone keeps saying people like me can't have big dreams, but that's not true." The judges exchanged glances. This wasn't going according to any script they knew. "I've been dreaming about this moment since I was 16, Emma continued, her confidence growing with each word. "My mom says I'm different, and I am. I have Down syndrome, but different doesn't mean less, Mr. Simon. Different just means I see the world in my own special way." Howie leaned into his microphone. "Emma, you don't have to explain anything to us. Would you like to try the song again?" No, Emma said firmly, surprising everyone, because I realized something standing here. The song I prepared wasn't really my song. It was the song I thought you wanted to hear, but my real song is different. And then, without any musical accompaniment, without any preparation, Emma began to speak from her heart. My mom works 3 jobs to pay for my speech therapy and my dance classes. She falls asleep on the couch every night because she's so tired, but she never complains. She tells me I can do anything, even when other people tell her I can't. The audience had gone completely silent, not the polite silence of waiting for a performance to start, the profound silence of people recognizing they were witnessing something sacred. I work at a grocery store, Emma continued. I bag groceries and collect shopping carts. Some customers are nice to me, but some people talk to me like I'm stupid. They talk really loud and really slow, like having Down syndrome means I can't hear properly. Sophia's hand moved to her heart. Behind the judges' table, producers were frantically signaling cameras to capture every angle. They knew they were witnessing something unprecedented. But here's the thing, Mr. Simon, Emma said, looking directly at him again. I'm not here to be inspiring. I'm not here to make people feel good about themselves for being nice. To the disabled girl, I'm here because I'm really good at something. What are you good at, Emma? Simon asked, his voice softer than anyone in the audience had ever heard it. I'm good at making people happy. Not because I'm different, but because happiness is my talent. When I bag someone's groceries and I smile at them, really smile, not a fake smile, they leave the store feeling better. When I dance in my classes, even though I'm not the best dancer, everyone starts laughing and having more fun. She paused, collecting her thoughts. My mom says that's a gift, the ability to make other people's days brighter just by being yourself. And I think maybe that's more important than hitting the right notes in a song. The silence stretched for what felt like minutes. Simon was staring at Emma with an expression none of the other judges had ever seen before, not his usual calculating look as he evaluated talent, not his practiced sympathy for sob stories, something deeper, something that looked almost like wonder. Emma, he said slowly, in 20 years of judging, I have heard thousands of singers hit every note perfectly. I have seen dancers execute flawless routines. I have watched magicians perform impossible tricks. Emma nodded, hanging on his every word. But what you just did, Simon continued, his voice growing stronger, was more powerful than all of them combined. Because you didn't just perform for us, you trusted us. You trusted this audience. You trusted yourself enough to be completely authentic when everything was going wrong. Tears began forming in Emma's eyes, but they weren't tears of embarrassment or disappointment. They were tears of recognition, the recognition that someone finally understood. I need to tell you something, Emma, and I need everyone in this audience to hear this. Simon stood up from his chair, something he rarely did during auditions. What you just described, the ability to make people genuinely happy, to bring light into their day through nothing but your authentic presence, that's not just a talent, that's a superpower. The audience began to murmur with growing excitement. They could feel something building, something special. You said you're good at making people happy, Simon continued, walking around the judges' table toward the stage. Let me tell you what I see when I look at you. I see someone who has faced more challenges in 19 years than most people face in a lifetime, and instead of becoming bitter or giving up, you chose to become a source of joy for others. By now, Simon had reached the stage steps. Emma watched in amazement as one of the most famous judges in television history climbed onto the stage with her. Emma, I have a confession to make, Simon said, now standing just a few feet from her. I've been judging talent shows for 2 decades. I thought I knew what talent looked like. I thought it was about technical skill, about perfection, about entertainment value. He gestured to the audience, to the cameras, to the entire production around them. But you just taught me something I should have learned years ago. The greatest talent isn't about what you can do, it's about who you are. And who you are, Emma, is extraordinary. The audience erupted. Not the polite applause of a successful audition, the thunderous standing ovation of people who had just witnessed something that transcended television. But Simon wasn't finished. Emma, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. His voice was serious now. carrying the weight of someone about to make an important decision. If I told you that you had the power to make millions of people happy, not just the customers at your grocery store, not just the people in your dance class, but millions of people around the world, would you want that responsibility? Emma's eyes widened. You mean like on TV? I mean like right here, right now, showing the world that dreams don't have to look like everyone expects them to. That talent comes in all forms. That the most important thing anyone can do is be genuinely, authentically themselves. Emma looked out at the audience, at the thousands of faces looking back at her with expressions of love and support. Then she looked at Simon, this powerful man who had just told her she had a superpower. Mr. Simon, she said, her voice clear and strong, if I can make people happy by being myself, then yes, I want that responsibility. Simon smiled, not his practiced judge smile, but a genuine expression of joy and pride. Then Emma Chen, you don't need 4 yeses from us. You just need to keep being exactly who you are. He turned to face the other judges. Sophia, Howie, Heidi, we're not just looking at a contestant here. We're looking at someone who embodies everything this show should represent: the courage to be vulnerable, the strength to stay authentic under pressure, and the rare ability to make everyone around them better just by being present. Sophia stood up, tears streaming down her face. Emma, you didn't perform for us tonight. You performed a miracle. You reminded us that the best performances aren't about showing off. They're about showing up as your true self. Howie, usually the joker of the panel, was uncharacteristically serious. Emma, I've laughed at a lot of acts over the years, but you've given me something better than laughter. You've given me hope. Heidi was openly crying. Emma, you said different doesn't mean less, but honey, different means more. You are more brave, more authentic, more inspiring than most people could ever dream of being. The 4 judges, in a moment of unprecedented unity, simultaneously reached for their buzzers. 4 golden X's lit up the stage, but this time, the X's didn't mean no. In a twist that had never happened in AGT history, they meant something else entirely. Emma, Simon announced to the roaring audience, we're giving you something that's never been given before. 4 golden X's that stand for extraordinary, exceptional, exemplary, and exactly what this world needs more of. Emma stood in the center of the stage, surrounded by golden light and thunderous applause, not because she had performed perfectly, but because she had performed truthfully. As confetti fell and the audience cheered, Simon walked over to Emma one more time. Emma, can I tell you a secret? He whispered, just loud enough for the microphones to catch. She nodded eagerly. For 20 years, I've been looking for the perfect act. Tonight, you taught me that I should have been looking for the perfect heart instead. Emma's response was pure Emma, honest, direct, and beautiful in its simplicity. Mr. Simon, I think everyone has a perfect heart. Some people just need help remembering how to use it. The cameras captured it all, but what they couldn't capture was the shift that happened in that theater that night. 3,000 audience members left with a different understanding of what talent meant. 4 judges left with a new appreciation for authenticity over perfection, and Emma left with something she'd been seeking her entire life, the knowledge that being herself wasn't just enough, it was everything. 6 months later, Emma's audition became the most watched AGT video in the show's history, not because she sang beautifully or danced flawlessly, but because she reminded millions of viewers that the most powerful performances happen when we stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be real. Emma went on to become a motivational speaker, a social media influencer, and an advocate for people with disabilities. But more importantly, she continued to do what she'd always done: make people happy by being exactly who she was. And Simon Cowell learned that sometimes the best judges aren't the ones who can spot talent from a mile away. They're the ones who can recognize truth when it's standing right in front of them, even when it doesn't look like anything they expected, because talent can be taught, technique can be improved, and performance can be perfected. But authenticity, that rare courage to be completely yourself when the whole world is watching, that's something you either have or you don't. Emma had it in abundance. And in sharing it with the world, she proved that the most beautiful music isn't always sung. Sometimes it's simply spoken from a heart that refuses to pretend to be anything other than exactly what it is. Share this story, because the world needs more people like Emma and more judges like Simon who are wise enough to recognize that perfect performances are forgettable, but perfect hearts are unforgettable.